Okay, let's do it. I just started recording, and as usual, we start with US500, DXY, USDT dominance, Bitcoin, and Ethereum to feed the overall market, and then we'll dive into the other altcoins. Of course, we'll start with NWGC later on. But first, let's start with US500 and the remaining ones. If you have any questions during this session, feel free to request it or ask it in the members talk. Okay, and later on when I finish the first part, you can also request any altcoin that you would like me to go over. So, as you clearly see, we are currently sitting or retesting a massive support or resistance, a support for US500, resistance for the DXY, support for Bitcoin, and so on, right? So, we can see that US500 is retesting this area, and we have been in a bearish market previously, impulse correction, and we are currently in this impulse movement. So as an early alert for the bulls to take over, to have a shift in momentum here, for it to be as a correction, so impulse, correction, right? So we are currently in this impulse, and we are waiting for this correction, and inside this impulse, we have what? Minor impulse and correction movements. So for this impulse movement to end, for this correction to start, we need to see a break above the previous high. Of course, like it's very far from the current price for now. So if price forms a new swing high and break it upward, it would signal that the correction is about to start. Now, as an early alert that this bearish movement, a short-term bearish movement inside this giant falling broadening wedge would end, in this case, we'll need to see an equal low or even a higher low. But for now, it's looking good if we see a rejection from here. Of course, unless we break it downward, in this case, we will have one more impulse movement, like pushing lower. So it would be an impulse, a correction, an impulse, a correction, and this impulse usually in a bearish trend would make or would result in a low. So yes, we might still have this impulse movement pushing price lower till around the lower brown trend line and also this support zone. In fact, the 3.4, 3.3K is a strong support area as well, as you clearly see here. Resistance previously, now support. It's also the previous all-time high from 2020 and also a demand zone, as we had an aggressive movement upward from this area. Okay, so this is basically it. And from weekly time frame, we had our impulse, a correction, an impulse, a correction, and we are currently here, as mentioned previously. We might still see a low before we trade higher. This is why it's very important to monitor the price action here to see if we are going to see a break for this impulse to continue moving downward, which would be also this impulse pushing downward, or this short-term bearish trend would end and we'll have one more correction before the next impulse movement push price lower. That's it from a higher time frame to know where we currently are, what we are looking for. If you zoom into daily time frame, sorry, for H4 time frame, we see that we are stuck inside a consolidation here. And since we have news now, it might be a catalyst to break this range upward. In this case, we'll be expecting a movement upward, or if it drives the price downward, it would be the catalyst to break below this low. In this case, we'll be expecting further bearish movement, and this is the view from H4. It looks so much better. If you want the exact one we saw on daily, a big impulse, a small correction, a big impulse, a small correction, and we are currently in an impulse phase just like these previous two. Okay, so yes, we might still push lower like this, a big impulse till this area. But of course, let's wait for market to make the first move and then we'll react accordingly. Let's see which way we are going to break, downward or upward. That's why you see my alert right here to know when we are breaking above this major high. And that's the high from H1. You can also make it appear on H4 and where you can see it even better. So if we see this break, in this case, we'll be expecting a bullish movement. Previously, bulls took over, bears took over by breaking it again downward, and now we are waiting for the bulls to take over, or if we trade lower, break it downward. You already know the rest of the story, right? So that's basically it. Jabs, hope you're doing good. And we also got Rose and Ishanna. Happy to see you here, guys. Okay, so that's it for US500. For DXY, the exact opposite. We can see that DXY or USD index is retesting the previous high, previous major high right here around 113, 114. If you zoom out to weekly or even monthly, we can see that we are currently, okay, let me make them appear on monthly. Here we go, appear there. And we don't want to see this one on monthly. Okay, fantastic. So this 113, 114, this area here is a support and resistance. It's a very small one, a minor one. The main one would be around 120. So the exact opposite of like of US500. We are currently bullish. We can see it from daily better. We got our impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse. Lately or last week had a correction, and now let's see how this one would behave. If we trade higher and break above the previous high, in this case, further bullish movement would be expected. For now, okay, or at least for now, this swing hasn't ended yet. For now, it might result in a lower high. If we trade lower from here, then this swing would be complete. This swing would be complete. We will have a major high. If you have a lower high, it might be an early alert that we might have a potential reversal on the XY. But of course, like nothing is showing weakness for now. Let's wait for the break first. We've got this support and resistance right here around 110, and also this lower trend line in orange. So if we trade lower from here, we need to see this break below this low and below this trend line for the bears to take over, because we can still trade lower and then trade like this and trade higher till around the 120, which would be around this area. Okay, so that's it for the XY. If you zoom into H4, the exact same consolidation we saw on US500, we can see on the XY as well. And that's it from H1 time frame. We are currently here forming like a double top. Of course, the double top would be an idea until, like, of course, price breaks below the neckline. The neckline is in orange for now. Let me remove this one aside. That's it. Okay, now we can see it better. Okay, so like now let's see what the news will bring us. If we break above these highs here, we'll be expecting, and of course, a daily candle close above this area. We'll be expecting further bullish movement. If we reverse from here, right, and like the FOMC would be bearish for the XY, we'll be seeing this movement. But it might be a fake movement before the bulls take over again. That's why we need to see a break below this previous major low right here to confirm that the bears are taking over. Of course, this is just from a short-term perspective. If you zoom out, you can see the full picture. For example, just like this short-term bearish movement, just like this short-term, okay, before the bulls take over again. Okay, and like, as I mentioned, from daily, for the bears to take over entirely, here we go. We need to see a break below this rising broadening wedge. We need to see this movement like this. In this case, we'll be expecting further bearish movement. So that's it. We're watching closely this break higher or break lower, which would be the exact opposite on US500, a break below these lows, or a reversal, a break above this high or above this low on the XY. If you go to USDT dominance, you can see also a low, you can see a high on Bitcoin, right? So like as you can see, that's how you feel like sorry, entire market. Okay, if you go to the USDT dominance, we can see that we are currently stuck inside this little range. Okay, and we have been stuck inside it for a while. The more this range goes, the higher the chance that we will get a breakout either upward or downward. Okay, so like, of course, like, we are hoping, because we want the crypto market to go up. For it to go up, we are hoping that USDT dominance would break this range downward. Okay, and of course, we also got a channel that we can see better from H4, so it would break below this channel and also this low and also this support and resistance. Then and only then we can say that, yeah, the bears might be kicking in. Okay, for now, of course, this is just a short-term movement upward and downward while trading the range until eventually it's broken. The exact same thing for USD dominance. If we break above this resistance, it wouldn't be good at all. We'll be expecting further bullish movements. As you can see, it has been holding pretty much for a while and lately as well. So from 7.8 to 8%. And for now, we're expecting a reversal, a rejection of these highs, okay? If you go to H4, that's the view here, that's the entire range. You can see it even better, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? So if you remember previously, we expected this, and of course, like last week, we expected this if we break above this, all right? Now, we are waiting for this to be broken to expect this bearish movement. Meanwhile, we can trade higher and trade inside the 7.8 to 8 before we reverse and trade lower. Okay, that's pretty much it. That's the channel I told you about from daily time frame. For the best to take full control here, we need to see this break below what? Three things: this little range, this green big support resistance, and this trend line right here. So three things, and it would be like this. Okay, for now, let's take it step by step. We are still here. Okay, if you go to H1 time frame, okay, so like if you remember last week, we were here and we're waiting for the bulls to take over. By breaking above it, we had the break, a retest, we traded higher, we had our impulse, correction, impulse, and we are currently stuck here. Let's see if we will get one more impulse. So as you can see, we are currently in this phase, right? Which would be very similar to what? To this phase. Okay, so we might still break it upwards and trade higher to make one more impulse movement inside this resistance zone before we finally form a new low and break it down, and voila. Okay, for now, it's very important to watch the price action. For the bears to take over, we need to see a break below the trend line, one. Second, below this low right here. Okay, these lows lining up with this high and so on. Okay, that's it for USD dominance. The exact